So I am the System Service Manager for Pathways to Work in Rotherham. So my role in Rotherham is to bring together all local and kind of existing and new employment services under one umbrella and work collaboratively with our integrated health services as well to try and create a system that is much simpler for residents to access and for employers to access for support. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of the background to Pathways to Work, which is a regional programme. It's delivered across South Yorkshire, so it's present across all 4 local authority areas. I'm going to talk about kind of what we've been doing in Rotherham, and Ash will give us a little bit of an insight into some of the innovative ways we've tried to kind of lead by kind of an employer and an employment first approach. So some of the background to Pathways to Work. So 1 in 10 working age people in Britain are now claiming at least one type of health or disability benefit, which is quite a high number. 2.8 million people are out of work and classed as long-term sick, which is one of the highest levels in any G7 country. An increase of 800,000 people claiming health-related benefits with no requirement to work since 2019/20, which is an increase of 45%. Obviously fueled largely and definitely a major contributory factor being the pandemic. But then we are the only major economy whose employment rate has not recovered from the pandemic. And increasingly young people are leaving school and not entering further education, apprenticeship or work, and instead are very much being left behind. And that is definitely what we are seeing in Rotherham, and some of the things that Ash will talk about will kind of highlight how we're trying to target and support young people who are highly likely to have left school with minimal qualifications, with no opportunity for any kind of experience of work, and who kind of need that extra support to kind of get themselves moving closer into kind of work readiness. And that's why kind of the research that has been done is really insightful as to kind of where those skills gaps are and what employers are telling us that they need. So this was kind of in the ministerial forward of the Get Britain Working White Paper, which is where Pathways to Work kind of stemmed from on a national level. So these failures are neither inevitable nor acceptable, and behind every one of these numbers is someone whose potential isn't realised, whose ambitions aren't fulfilled, and who hasn't been given the helping hands they deserve to get back into work. So the current system stifles aspiration and limits ambition, and that's not good enough for our young people or our country. So Pathways to Work brings along a new approach, so a single front door, so a very simple way of accessing support, introducing a new triage function. So that triage function allows residents to contact local authorities. Each local authority area within South Yorkshire has the same triage function. So somebody can get in contact and seek support for any related job support through one email address, one phone number. It's also much easier for providers, for the job centres, for anybody who kind of just wants to ask a question. There is somebody at the end of the phone all of the time across all 4 local authority areas that are able to support and help. And that's been a really important addition to kind of the service that we're offering. And we've seen a huge uptake in referrals since we introduced that and got that off the ground in Rotherham. We had a little bit of a late start, would be fair to say. We didn't really get going till kind of August, September time, so we were a little bit behind the curve when compared to our local authority colleagues across the region. But we did get going in a really strong way. So we introduced new teams to kind of work across the Economic and Activity Trailblazer, which quite a few of you will probably know about through that Get Britain Working White Paper, a real focus on supporting people who currently may not be mandated to job search, but really do have that as an ambition. They really do want to get into the workplace, but currently, due to a benefit restriction or not being a benefit requirement, they're not people that are going to be sourcing support through the job centre. We also have high numbers of economic and activity with regard to people who currently don't access support for whatever reason. So whether that is that they have a family member who works, so they don't necessarily need to, whether they are a carer, stay-at-home parent. There's a number of reasons that people aren't seeking benefits that require them to job search. So it's really important for us to work with community-based organisations like marble training, which I'll touch on shortly, because that's where we are going to gain the greatest confidence from local residents. There's not always a reluctance to come into the council. Obviously, people do come into the council for lots of reasons, but we do need a community presence that allows people to feel confident with the support that they're getting. And it's very much a case of making sure that we've got the correct geographical coverage and making sure that we've got targeted support available to meet the needs of the people within those communities. So everything we do, and it's the same across the region, everything that we do is bespoke, it's person-centred, and it's individual. So we very much take the time to find out what it is that's stopping that person moving into work, what is the support that is required, how can we best fulfil that, and then how do we source it to make sure that it can be provided in a way that's easily accessible. We provide wraparound support services. They're really crucial. So we have support services that can target people who need extra support around mental health, low levels of disability. We work with the Health and Growth Accelerator, which is delivered by our NHS ICB colleagues across the region. And they have three key priority areas. So they will support young people who are currently not in education, employment or training, who have challenges around mental health and low levels of depression, so they can support those people. They have priorities around keeping people in work. So Jason just mentioned the Keep Britain Working white paper. So there's the Get Britain Working white paper, which is kind of where all this kind of came from. And then we've got the Keep Britain Working white paper, which South Yorkshire is a vanguard area for. It hasn't brought us any extra money, but it has got us more involved in that conversation about how we actually keep that work going. So those wraparound support services are really integral. We can support people who have got musculoskeletal challenges, people who have got other disability disadvantages, young people who have got no experience of work, may have left the education system early and have got no wish to return to that mainstream education system. How do we support those young people and provide them with opportunities that are going to move them into positive job and career progressions? So those wraparound support services are all community-based. So we try and ensure that everything that we do is present in the community. We don't expect people to always come to us. We very much try and deliver the support out in the communities. Support for employers is really key. Without employers, without willing employers getting on board with us and trusting us when we say, look, why don't you just try it a little bit different? Why don't you try and do something a bit different? Why don't we move away from that kind of very stereotypical recruitment process where you expect someone to fill a form in, get through that hurdle, and then go and sit in front of an employer and answer questions that maybe they're not actually prepared to answer and they're not ready to answer. We can support employers with their recruitment, with their retention, with their workforce development. We can support their employees. If you have employees that are currently really struggling in the workplace, we can support with that as well. So supporting that Keep Britain Working as well as Get Britain Working at the same time. Just touched on those alternative recruitment processes, which again, massively impactful. You know, if we keep doing the same thing in the same way, then we're never going to make any changes. You know, and if what we are doing worked, then I wouldn't be in a job, and we wouldn't need services like Pathways to Work because everything would be working. But it's not working. We have got gaps. We have got challenges, and that's very much what we are trying to kind of counter through this programme. Building impactful partnerships is absolutely key. That we would be nowhere with this programme if we didn't have those impactful partnerships across local authority areas and across the borough. I think all 4 local authority areas work really collaboratively together to make sure that what we're driving is a regional programme. It's a regional programme with local differences, but it's a regional programme, and what we're striving for is the same outcome. And to make sure that individuals, no matter where you are in South Yorkshire, have the same opportunities. And certainly the same opportunities within each local authority area as well. So we're developing a system which is responsive to local need for residents and employers. So listening to what our participants are telling us they want, really delving into kind of what are the challenges within those hyperlocal areas, Working with councillors, so going out and actually getting into the communities and finding out, because the councillors that are based in those community centres, they meet the people on the ground every day. So that's where it's trusting and working alongside our experts. And there are many experts involved in the Pathways to Work programme. And it's definitely, it's a whole network of partnerships that have really made it as successful as it has been in Rotherham and the region up to now. I would say, despite a bit of a delayed start, we definitely got going pretty quick. So yes, it's been really exciting, and the things that are coming through for year 2, as we just launched this month for year 2 Pathways to Work. So now we've kind of really got the ball rolling. We're really excited to see kind of what happens across the region as we move through that year. Just a little bit of an overview of kind of what we supported in 2025. And these figures relate to Pathways to Work as a broad programme. So that encompasses everything within Rotherham. So whether that be our Renovate programme that supports our unemployed, our Trailblazer programme that supports our economically inactive participants. We've got Connect to Work, who support those individuals that have got a greater need and may need some more intensive support and maybe have additional support needs but do not need to have an EHCP. So it's very much about what is the barrier for that individual. And within the local authority, we also have core funded teams as well that support. So we've got supported employment team, and we've also got an IPS model that delivers support around drug and alcohol misuse. So these figures relate to a collective Pathways to Work response within Rotherham. And I think since April 2025, we've supported over 1,100 residents within Rotherham. Over 240 participants are moving into work. That figure isn't fixed yet. We're still waiting for the fluctuation to die down around the end of Pathways to Work, but it's over 240 moving into work. And 310 participants have been involved in recognised training opportunities alongside all of the support that our employment advisors are providing every day when they're meeting with the participants. So we've definitely focused on providing bespoke support to reduce and remove specific barriers to employment. So looking at those health and wellbeing barriers, essential skills, which Jason just touched on, where we're really striving to kind of look at how do we respond to that. So working in partnership with our local colleges, with our Adult Skills Fund delivery partners. So how can we deliver something that is more bespoke, more flexible and more responsive? And really kind of focusing on that work readiness and employability skills. So that's a little bit of the background to kind of what Pathways looks like across the region, and more specifically kind of what it looks like for us in Rotherham. So I am going to bring Ash in here. So let's go on the stage, Ash. So Ash is the Managing Director of Marvel Training. So he has been a stalwart supporter for us since we launched back in September. Came on board very early. Has just got some fantastic ideas and connections, and has done some amazing work around kind of moving especially young people into some amazing job opportunities.
So good morning everyone. So my name's Ash Hibberd. I'm from Marvel Training. We are a multi-accredited training organisation working across several different sectors. We take our CSR very seriously. So as much as we are a private limited company, we also have a CIC, which works alongside the private side. And we try and do as much good as we can from a community perspective. The Pathways to Work scheme came up. We had a look at it, and it was like a bit of a light bulb moment. We thought we could be very impactful in terms of what we can do and how we can look at things. Because we are a private company, and because we have experience and a different view from the private side in respect to training, we've applied that and flipped it on its head a little bit to make it work through the CIC. So our perspective on what we can do in terms of adding value to individuals, into other organisations, local authorities, to help reduce the unemployment issues that we currently have, not just in Rotherham, not just in South Yorkshire, but across the nation. So we sort of try to very much think outside of the box in everything that we do day to day, and how we tackle in achieving our aims and objectives. So the Pathways to Work scheme came up with Rotherham. We put a proposal in. That proposal was naturally accepted, and we got to work. Fiona mentioned a little earlier about that the scheme started off sort of very slow. There were ups and downs straight away, which we overcame as a team and as a group. But quite quickly, we realised, obviously, that the scope that we had at our disposal in terms of business, people, it's all based on relationships. So our business, myself, my colleagues, we have such a network, as will each and every one of you, in which we can lean on. And that's the key, really, to resolving and improving the unemployment situation that we have across the country. So before we really sort of set out to find and help these individuals, we did an exercise whereby we went out and spoke to businesses and understood in particular what businesses are looking for, what positions, what departments across all the different sectors. So we created a bit of a baseline to say, right, well, these companies are looking for these type of people with these type of skills. We do have a head start in a sense. We are multi-accredited, so we can provide accredited training. So after we sort of established that, we quickly sort of figured out what we need to do in terms of trying to find these individuals. Now, forgive me if people are offended by this word, but these individuals that we are helping for the most part through Pathways to Work are essentially ghosts. They're not registered anywhere, they're not active, they are defined as inactive. So the way in which you reach these people is through community engagement, and that is quite a difficult task, not just for Fiona and the team, but that will be across the country. So it is doing activities in which is engaging for individuals to come out of the house, to get up and get out of bed, to get them to come and talk to you. With COVID, with social media, with AI, that's becoming an increasingly difficult thing to do. Social skills has sort of fell off a cliff to an extent for the younger generations, which is obviously none of their fault. We've allowed it to happen, and it's only going to get worse over the next couple of years. So we've got a responsibility there to try and do something about that. So it's really about engaging with these individuals in a way that really connects them to feeling they're cared for, to feel that they mean something, to feel like they've got a future. And this basically led us to walking down the path and working with a company called Detectronic, who are a water industry company. They have a significantly large contract with Yorkshire Water, installing specialist alarms, and having several discussions with them, we realised that across the water industry, there is an immediate need for 5,000 installation engineers. So piecing this together, we soon realised that there's an opportunity there, not just to help Detectronic, but the entire water industry. I don't know if people know that the infrastructure in relation to the water industry is 2 or 3, maybe 400 years old. It's very outdated. So over the next 2 or 3 decades, there's going to be a lot of reinvestment back into that to upgrade the entire system. So in terms of longevity, in terms of future growth, the production of what needs to be achieved, there's so much scope there. So it's not just about finding jobs for these individuals. We've sort of tried to go that one step further and find career paths whereby these individuals can grow, they can progress upwards, sideways, they can stay where they are if they're happy doing what they're doing. But we're trying to sort of give them the confidence to feel that they can achieve as much as they absolutely want. And there's a phrase that I like to say quite a lot. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Yep. So that is something that I've said to all the candidates that we've had who have come on board, is that we're not looking for perfection. Nobody should be, because you want to be able to help people grow. You want to see them grow. You want to experience them grow. You want to upskill them. And naturally, the personality will evolve, and they'll grow as an individual. So that's obviously how we've looked at it, and that's what we feel is important for longevity. So, having discussions with Detectronic, we put on several community activities to get the engagement from these ghosts. We got them on board. We went through a process in which we ensured that these individuals understood what the opportunity was, to ensure that they got it right in their own mind and that they were prepared for what hard work was to come. Again, that's another big thing to bear in mind, is that ensuring these individuals are prepared accordingly will help them achieve a higher level of success. So we went through that process, and we got to the point where we were happy with an initial cohort of 11. This cohort, we got them in. We told them what the next 3, 4, 5 weeks was going to be. It's going to be a significantly intense period of time whereby they're going to be trying to absorb a lot of information, and at every stage they had to pass for them to continue on this course to get to the end goal, which would be employed by Detectronic, who are servicing a huge Yorkshire Water contract, which is going to last for the next 5 years. So in doing so, we obviously, again, looking at it from our point of view, we are trying to support them as much as we can from a professional level as well as a personal level. So we started the process. Week by week, the courses are being passed, not without its ups and downs, not without the conversations, the motivation, but week by week, everybody's passing. And by the end of it, we got 100% success rate as far as all the training, the upskilling, everybody passed everything. At which point now, these individuals are 2-3 months in to their employment, working on a Yorkshire Water contract, and they are out in the field, even today, installing these service alarms which Yorkshire Water need to help manage their infrastructure. So we've had 100% hit rate on the training, and we've had 100% employment rate from the entirety of what we've done with Pathways to Work. So I think it just goes to show what Pathways to Work and other schemes that are very similar, but more specifically Pathways to Work, Fiona and the team, how important it is that we need these type of schemes, and how important it is that we've got to take the younger generation's life seriously and what their future is going to look like. We've got to try and landscape it in a way whereby they feel that they can achieve what they want to achieve, and go as far as they absolutely want to. There's a particular chap called Dominic, who, when we initially met, he gave us his backstory, and this is probably what makes it more heartwarming in a sense, is that when you get to know these individuals, if you understand the backstory, the history, and what they've had to go through, the sort of ups and downs, that's what makes it more impactful when you understand that. I haven't got time today to tell you about it, and to be honest, it wouldn't do it justice. But if you understood Dom's story, you would realise how impactful this entire scheme is. I believe, Fiona, you've got a video to sort of show. It's not just about Dom. It's certainly not about us. This is about the individuals who are living the success that they've achieved, not us. So that will carry on. We will continue to support as a training company to them. We'll continue to support them as a CIC and ensure the longevity of their success. But it just comes back and shows how important Pathways to Work generally is, the good work that people are doing, and really the solid work that the individuals are doing when they do get an opportunity and a chance to show what they're capable of. So, yeah, thank you very much.
I first came about Pathways to Work through basically just online research, trying to find employment help out there for people with difficult backgrounds, and I thought I'd give it a try, and I went down to Rotherham Council and I met with someone called Lee. Told Lee everything that I'd been through, all the applications, all the rejections, everything I was going through in my life, and he kind of sat down and talked to me and he explained how he could help me going forward. The courses that we've done are fantastic, so we've done some recognised courses. I mean, we've done a CSCS, We've done as IOSH working safely, managing safely. We've done as confined spaces. We've done as street works course. We've done so many courses which we put into practice every day at work, and it enables us to go in any direction that we want with those accreditations. I got straight employed by Marvel, and I've smashed it. I've excelled week on week. I've surpassed what their targets were, and even D Tektronic and Yorkshire Water, we've surpassed what they thought we were going to do. There is someone out there who's willing to employ you, and that's what Pathways to Work does. It helps find employers for individuals, and without them I wouldn't be a studier today, and I won't have a job that I enjoy going to every single day.
Yeah, Nick Pearson from Sheffield Occupational Health Advisory Service. We were part of the Growth Accelerator, Fiona, and we did training for line managers, and I think Rotherham was probably the most receptive area for the work that we did. But just a couple of points that I think are really important in the context is we found that when we're talking to line managers, then they had a real lack of confidence and lack of knowledge about how to support their staff, and that we sort of knew that, but it was like a confirmation. And one of the major things that we came across was that it was about assessing risk, particularly around assessing psychological risk, and that we know from all the research and those stats that we've got at SOHAS that that's a crucial area. So that's something that we're going to try and do more of when we do more training in Rotherham and across the piece in the next few months.
Thank you. I would just come back on that because it's been great working with the Health and Growth Accelerator actually, because they've got some real insight into what the challenges that employers are facing. And we took that to a company, we're working with a company called Concentrics on the neurodiverse pathway into work, where we'll be delivering kind of out of their base. And we're doing a lot of training with their line manager around neurodiversity and working. So it would be really good to kind of catch up with you maybe and link you into that. So thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Mel Kennerek from Sheffield Digital, but I don't have a digital question, so don't worry.
That's all right.
I'm really interested in programs like this, but my question for both of you is how easy is it or not to scale these programs, to work with more people, to work with more employers? Is that something that you can see happening across the region?
Yeah, I think it's already regionally, there's presence across the region, so all 4 local authority areas are delivering on pathways, and last year was the launch year, so it was very much a test and learn and innovate, and we're still taking those principles forward this year, but obviously our eyes are definitely on how do we grow it, how do we scale it, how do we take examples like Ash has just given us, and really make that impactful across the region. So yeah, it is something that we're working with the MCA really closely on, and obviously we've already got one eye on kind of what's happening next year. So.
Can I just add to that? In terms of scalability, just to reiterate how impactful this is, we have been directly approached by several other companies up and down the country to see if we can help them try and do what we've already done, which is absolutely fantastic from our point of view, but it just shows the significance and the impact that we're having. I mean, for Rotherham itself and the scheme that we've just done, we have a waiting list of 40 individuals who want to get into working with Yorkshire Water, and that's just Rotherham. So the scalability, we can take it as far as we want, but obviously we have to get the other local authorities on board and get them onto the scheme.
It's Andy Green from HLM Architects. Congratulations on your success. What a great story. I'm really interested in your understanding of the success factors around the training that you delivered in a relatively short space of time. In terms of the content and the way it was delivered, does anything strike you as being really essential to that success?
Like with any training, probably for the most part, myself included, you go into training thinking, maybe I don't want to be here, or maybe the trainer's a little bit boring, forgive the word. So the training that we did, we had a part in developing the way in which we delivered it. We did everything in-house. We understood the cohort that we were working with, so we made certain tweaks to the delivery to ensure that it was engaging enough for them and to connect with what we're trying to teach them. we all have our own different individual ways of learning, whether that's doing something practically, whether that's reading something, that's watching something. We're all different. Now, you can't ever 100% appease everybody, but for the most part, you can adapt certain things and provide that additional support to as and when someone learns in a slightly different way to probably everybody else. But it's really more about just communication, talking to the individuals, getting their feedback, understanding what's working for them and what's not. And that's obviously something we do day to day from a B2B as well as a B2C from the training point of view.
Victoria Tomlinson, Chief Executive of Next Up. I don't want this to be an either or in the generations. It's got to be everybody together. But I am slightly concerned. I didn't hear anything about the 50-plus generation. And of course, I understand why there's a focus on NEETs and younger people. You've got to get them in there. But there's a huge pool here. We've got, it depends which figures you look at, 2.15 million unemployed or 3.5 million. And it's the fastest growing unemployment rate at the moment. I think they could help solve a lot of these things that you're doing. They could be mentors. They could come in and help you in a lot of those things to scale up. But are you looking at anything for the 50-plus generation? I didn't hear that mentioned at all.
Yeah, so the programme, so Pathways to Work is an all-age programme, so it's 16 up. So we do have support available to anybody of any age. All of our programmes are opened to people of any age bracket. It just so happened that when Marvel came up with this, we had a large number, I would say 40% of our referrals and our participants are young people who are NEET. So this was one of our responses to that. But you know, we have courses and training moving forward for people of any age. There is no age restriction on anything that we do. And more specifically, we're working with DWP in Rotherham at the minute around kind of more targeted support for that age range. I mean, we had one of our triage ladies, I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning that she's a lady of over the age of 50. So she was one of our participants actually on the Pathways programme in Rotherham. She'd found herself unexpectedly out of work. She'd worked for the same company for a number of years, so it's a long time since she'd written an application form, gone through an interview, but had a huge amount to offer. And she applied for one of our triage officer posts as part of that, and she was supported through that process by her employment advisor. And she moved into, she did a fantastic interview, and she's now one of our triage officers within Rotherham. So we are constantly looking for those opportunities and working with organisations that can kind of, inward investment is a big thing, because obviously we've got a lot of companies in Rotherham coming in through the New Dearne Valley corridor, and we have quite a few companies that have relocated into the Rotherham Borough from London who are looking for people who have got high levels of kind of work experience that are already ready to go within the workplace. So yeah, opportunities are always there for people who have got significant amounts of work experience. So there is never a closed door to anybody within this programme, and I think that's why this works, is because it most definitely is an opportunity for all. And if we had somebody that came and wanted to be part of this programme, then they absolutely would be.
I think quickly, just to sort of add to that, again, it's the disconnect in reaching these individuals. So the people who are out of work, whether they're under or over 50, it's how do we find these people to be able to offer them that support? And this is obviously what the Pathways to Work scheme is trying to do, to bridge that gap and connect people who are not in employment for us to then do something about it.